Trump, Cruz, Clinton, or Sanders. Those are the front runners for the 2016 presidential nominations of the Democrat and Republican Party. However, when I look at the candidates for the two parties, I wish I could vote none of the above because none of these candidates running for president are showing me any sort of leadership qualities. When you think about the President of the United States, you think of someone who would try to bring people together, unite them so that they can work together to keep the country focused on being the best country and the best people it can be in the world. But I'm not seeing that. Instead, when I look at these candidates, I see people who are about dividing the country and making people into individuals instead of everybody working together as a group. And this type of fragmenting only will divide the country, and a house divided is just not going to stand. And we really need a leader. When I look at the 8 years of Barack Obama, he had not shown any sort of leadership qualities. Yes, he was a great orator and he was a very articulate guy, but he was not a leader. And the United States really needs a leader because the country, as I look at it, is pretty directionless. It pretty much has lost focus, and the president is supposed to bring, focus on everything. He's supposed to have a vision for the country. We have not had, that strong a leader, I say, in about 35, 40 years. I mean, we have not had that type of leadership, and the United States really needs a strong leader. I don't see that in any of these candidates. I don't see anyone with a set vision for taking America into the 21st century. I don't see anybody who will be able to focus and set goals for the 21st century. I don't see anybody who's a diplomat who can bring both houses, the House and the Senate, together towards working towards the goals of the country like your Dwight David Eisenhower did. And I don't see anybody with a direction to set the country in so that it can move forward instead of staying stalled like it is right now. And I also don't see anyone with an economic plan that will take America's economy out of this dysfunctional, stalled state and really get it moving and building. When I look at the crop of candidates right now, I see managers. And what Barack Obama has been doing, and I even say George W. Bush had been doing, and even Bill Clinton have been doing, and Bush Sr., I say the last four presidents have been doing, they've been managing the country. And we really don't need a manager, because a manager, all they're doing is just keeping the status quo, keeping things, at some sort of, standard level. But I'm not seeing anyone who's going to lead the country. I mean, we need somebody who's going to unite people, bring them together, and get them to see the direction they can take the country in and how great America can be. Yes, Trump talks about, bringing America back, but all I hear from him is like, the whole idea of going back to greatness. I'm talking about going forward because you can't go back. We can't go back to these idealized ideas that people have, talking about, oh, we want to go back to the good old days. Those days are over. It's time for people to start focusing on the present and then focusing on the future. Now, Obama talked about, change for the future, but he didn't deliver because he could not lead. And he could not, unite people and not be the diplomat that would bring people together to see his vision for the future. He really just was a good talker, but he never laid out a concrete plan for the future of the United States. I mean, he just was, it's like a lot of people said they were electing a black president. Basically, that's all he was a black guy who was president. He was not a leader who united people, who brought people together, or, really set a tone and a direction. And when you have a president, he has to set a tone, he has to set a direction, he has to have a set of goals that he wants to pursue, and he has to lead. And that's one of again, I keep saying leadership because I don't see leadership. You need a leader for this country. The country, as I see it, is pretty much, it's like a rudderless ship these days. I look at the economy. It's not as strong as it could be yet. It came back a little, but it needs somebody to, really jumpstart it and get it really moving. Because when you have over almost 100 million people still out of work after a recession, something is wrong with your economy. And when you have the wrong people working in the economy, the money is not flowing in to build more businesses. It is flowing out. And no one is really talking about that. I look at the economy of America and it's stalling for those reasons. I mean, you have these days you have more women working, and again, the money is flowing out in the consumer-based economy, but none is flowing in for a production-based economy, and we really need to have that production base, you know, start all over again with new industries and new fields, and you need you need that type of platform to build on. You need that to build your economy with. We don't have that. That's why the American economy is stalled, and that's why America's job market is the complete wreck that it is. And then when you look at other aspects of America, again, you don't see the leadership. You don't see people, being inspired and feeling creative and trying to do new and different things. You don't see that with America, and that was a big part of what makes America great, is that people are always trying to innovate. They're always trying to create. They're always trying to do something different. And even in government, they're trying to do something. But we're not seeing that. I just see a bunch of stalling. I mean, our Congress has stalled. Our economy is stalled. Our Senate is stalled. No one is voting on policy. Everybody is the whole country is just in neutral. And that is a big problem, because I look at the people and they're in neutral. Nobody is moving forward. Everything is just stalled. And when you elect a president that does not lead, you wind up with everything stalled. When you don't have leadership, everything stalls. And when everything is stalled, you just have people managing and trying to get day to day instead of thinking about tomorrow. And America has gone from the tomorrow country and with a culture focused on the future to a culture focused on just today, and some people even yesterday. And when you have your country messed up like that, it's not going to go anywhere. And when you have candidates who spend more time throwing ad hominem attacks and shaming language at each other, they're not showing you leadership. They're not showing you that they are interested in bringing people together. They are interested in playing a blame and shame game where they shuck and jive for government dollars, not understanding that if you don't have a tax base, you're going to run out of government dollars. Because I look at the American economy and the way it has been rejiggered, and the workers that you have in place, and you're not going to get a strong tax base from that group. And especially when you start adding in more tax breaks, more tax credits, you're not going to have the revenue to continue to fund things like government programs or even clean water. Because without a tax base of working Americans who create more jobs and pay more taxes, you're not going to have the base to do anything. And I look at America's leadership, they're not focused on that big picture. They're just focused on getting through a day. And we really have to get leadership that focuses on things that are more long-term and more long-term oriented. Because I look at the damage that short-term thinking has done to America over the last couple of years, like the repealing of the Glass-Steagall Act, that crime bill, and other policies that Bill Clinton implemented. And I'm seeing the seeds for a complete collapse. And I'm looking at other policies that were done. Again, like that Glass-Steagall, which allowed investment bankers to get in the mortgages, and we're not looking at trying to fix those problems. Those are the things that I thought your Barack Obama would have handled and addressed, and he would have talked to both parties in the House and the Senate to get them to understand that we really need to do something about things. But no, we don't get any leadership whatsoever. And I look at the crop of candidates and I see them arguing and bickering, but nobody's talking about a concrete plan for getting this country on track and rebuilding and starting a new direction that will take the country, to the next level in the 21st century. I don't see anybody with any ideas for helping people move forward. Instead, I hear, crazy plans from your Donald Trumps talking about building walls to prevent Mexicans from coming in. And I hear Hillary Clinton talking all sorts of nonsense, and Bernie Sanders, who is a big liberal, talking about more government programs. Again, how are you going to pay for all of this when your tax base has been eroded, when your workers are not innovators and creators, when your employees are more focused on consumption rather than production, and when your country is pretty much directionless and everybody is going in 100 different directions and no one is focused on working towards a single goal of making America great, making America better, and improving the quality of life for all Americans. There's nobody trying to bring everyone together towards, a single purpose. Everybody is sitting here going in 100 different directions. The country is fragmented, and the economy is stalling because everything is so fragmented, and everyone is going their own way. Um, but there's no leadership, and that lack of leadership, is costing the country big time. Because if you look at the long-term picture, if it continues on this course, and nobody is leading, I don't see. I see America, going the same way the Roman Empire went many, many years ago. Because the Roman Empire was the same way the American country is. Everybody was going their own way. There was no real political direction. Um, the bodies that were just like the Congress, they were pretty much bickering and arguing. They never passed any bills, and the whole country went into decline. And I look at America right now; it's in a state of decline because we have no leadership, and we're just a desperate need for someone to take the lead. And no one wants to take the lead because no one wants to be responsible. I notice that's a big part of American culture. That no one wants. They want the positions of president. They want the positions of senator. They want the positions of congressman. They want the power that goes with those positions, but they don't want the responsibility of doing the job. And because they don't want to take responsibility, the country, falls in decline. This is why I cannot vote for any of these candidates, because they're just not showing me that they're willing to take responsibility for their actions and making efforts to improve the quality of life of people in America. They're not showing me that they want to be leaders. They're not showing me they really care about the country, and they're not showing me that they want to do something to improve the quality of life for all Americans. What they're showing me is that, again, they want the power, but they just don't want the responsibility. And I really wish that there was a none of the above on the ballot, because none of these candidates, as I see it, are qualified or fit to be the president of these United States.